Fridays with Mom, a podcast where me and my mom,
aka Leah,
talk about life, specifically her life, and we get to have some laughs along the way. Think of this as a coffee chat mixed with a little stand-up comedy and a side of good heartfelt reflection. So, Mom, how are you doing?
I'm well, and how are you doing?
I'm also doing quite well. This is our second episode.
Very exciting.
It is very exciting. So, what are we going to talk about this week?
Well, I was thinking about it, and since last week we spoke about being a mom, I thought this week we can kind of talk about the lead up to it, or how I got there.
Okay, how did you get there?
Well, firstly, I just wanted to kind of put this out there that when I was young, I kind of had this idea that life was black or white and nothing in between.
Like the Michael Jackson song?
Something like the Michael Jackson song. And now, to take it to the next level, I've realized as I've grown older that life, and I don't mean this in an X-rated way, is actually just 50 shades of grey. There isn't black or white. It's all 50 shades of grey.
That's a bit profound.
It is a bit profound. So, do you remember last time I mentioned about how I always wanted to be a mom?
Yes.
And also how I had decided in advance that I really wanted 2 daughters.
Yes.
Well, when I was young, I kind of had things mapped out a little bit more than that. So I had my life kind of planned. I had decided that I will finish school, go to university, study, be done by the time I'm 21.
Yes.
Then, by the time I was 22, I would meet my perfect guy, my knight in shining armor, who's going to sweep me off my feet. And I'd meet him at 22. We would go out for 2 years till I was 24. We would then kind of have the marriage talk. By 25, I would be married. And then just to make it really nice and fun, me and my husband would spend, or my knight in shining armor would spend 2 years together in like marital bliss. Then I would have my first daughter at 27, which would have been you. And then my second daughter at 29, which would be T. And then I would be done by 30. And then I would actually begin to live happily ever after, me and my perfect man and my 2 adorable girls.
That's quite a plan. That's like down to the last detail.
Down to the last detail. And then I took it one step further because I actually even knew who my perfect guy would be. Well, kind of.
Like the person?
No, didn't know the person, but I had just like this small list of requirements. So firstly, he would be Greek. He would be tall.
Mm-hmm.
He would be, exactly. He would be good looking.
Of course.
He would be educated.
Reasonable.
Intelligent. Mm-hmm. Ambitious. Christian. He would have a fantastic sense of humor. And just on the sideline, he would literally worship the ground I walk on.
And you would meet this guy by what age again?
By 22.
By 22?
Yeah.
And you said you would also finish university by 21.
I would have finished university by 21.
So according to your list, I'm way behind.
You are a little bit behind. But don't worry because, I haven't mentioned the podcast yet. But considering that I'm on husband number 2 right now, my plan kind of didn't go exactly as I had it mapped out. At least I've got the 2 daughters.
At least, that's the one thing you have. Lisa, tell me more.
So while I was at university, I kind of didn't believe that this guy would just, descend from the heavens. And I kind of had this, exactly. That would be the best way to meet them. But I kind of thought that, okay, if I'm going to finish varsity at 21 and meet him by 22, I will probably meet him at varsity. So while I was at varsity, I kind of kept my eyes and ears open. And then I saw him. And this was him. He was literally like a Greek god. He looked like a cross between Theo James and Chris Hemsworth.
some good modern references there.
And he had this unbelievable chiseled body. He was studying law. He was kind and sweet. And
was he tall?
He was tall.
Okay.
He liked playing basketball as well, and he was tall enough to play basketball really well. And I kind of had my eye on him. So when I was at varsity, I went to Wits in Johannesburg, University of the Witwatersrand, for people that
aren't from South Africa.
Yes, the people that aren't from South Africa. And what they did have in a specific corner of one of the main kind of halls of the university, which was called Senate House, there was a corner that was actually well known as Greek Corner. And what would happen is all sorts of Greek people would congregate there during breaks, during lunchtime, and be doing what good Greek people do. Play backgammon.
Do you think there were other corners for like other?
There actually were.
Oh, okay.
There was an Italian corner that was right next to the Greek corner, and past them was the Portuguese corner.
Oh.
And listen, it was very difficult for me because my perfect guy, as I had said to you, planned was Greek, and it was very hard to keep my eyes always left on Greek corner because there were some hot Italian guys there too, I must admit.
No, it was not part of the plan.
It wasn't part of the plan, so I stuck to the plan. And this guy appeared in Greek corner, and he smiled at me once or twice, and then I kind of, because...
The courtship began.
Well, he was also intelligent, as I said, and he was ambitious and studious. So he would go to this particular library that was within this area called the Maths Library,
Okay.
which became my hangout. So I started off, I'd go up to this maths library and I would kind of like eye him out. And I'd have my books.
It's like a movie.
The thing about this maths library is it had like an upstairs section and a downstairs section.
Yeah.
And the upstairs section was kind of like a square that was
had an opening.
Exactly, hollow in the middle that you
Yeah.
could look down on the downstairs. And so I started off where he would be on the one side of the square and I would make sure I was parallel to him, and I would sit across with my books open in front of me, pretending to study. I literally couldn't even see in front of me. My heart would be pounding and kind of doing this, and I'd look up and flick my hair a little bit and look around and smile. And eventually, once or twice, it worked out that this guy actually came and sat next to me a few times.
Ooh, that's good.
And that was really hard because I thought sitting next to me that he'd actually see my shirt dancing, that my heart was pounding that he was sitting next to me. And I even remember once I literally thought I died and gone to heaven because he was sitting to the right of me and I was kind of trying to not let him see my face because I had this big grin on my face. I was so happy he was sitting next to me. So I let my hair fall over to the one side and he wanted to talk to me and he kind of touched my hair and I thought, oh my word. I thought I'm never washing my hair again. My ear became I promise you. I was totally.
I think all the best romance happens in libraries. That's my theory.
Anyway,
not that it's happened to me, but that's beside the point. It's still a
well,
theory.
it didn't happen to me either, unfortunately.
So
Apparently,
this guy didn't work out?
No, apparently, according to my sister, because he was a very good, nice, decent Christian guy, she claimed that he would see me flirting with too many other guys at Greek Corner, and he found this intimidating. And I didn't even think I was flirting. I was just looking around to see how my dream would be fulfilled. And anyway, so she said that she thinks he got overwhelmed, and eventually, I don't know, he found this woman and
Not
started
you.
dating her. It wasn't me. It wasn't
I'm
me.
sorry.
But in the process, which was very interesting, I would be sitting in the library, and another person I would see sitting across from me frequently was this Chinese guy. And every now and then, I didn't want to make it obvious that I was only staring at one person in the library. So I'd occasionally look at this Chinese guy as well. And if he looked in my direction, I'd give him a smile. So it kind of looked even. So no one could tell that I was literally zoned in on the one guy. And after being in the maths library a few times, this Chinese guy came up to me and approached me and he said, hello. So I said, hello. And he said, you're a Gemini, aren't you?
Ooh. Right out the gate, coming out with the astrology.
Exactly. And I thought, oh, please, lucky guess. He probably has
So
seen
he was
that.
right.
He was spot on. I thought he's probably seen that I'm friendly, and Geminis are generally friendly, sociable people. So I thought, oh, lucky guess. He then said to me he would like to demonstrate the power of his brain.
Okay.
And I thought, okay, I was.
Did you know what he meant?
Not really, but I was 18 at the time, and what he told me was there were no cell phones. So he handed me a calculator and asked me to start calculating some things on the calculator, but calling them out to him at the same time.
Okay.
So
Were your calculators like those massive ones?
no. They're I'm not that old. We said 54 in the previous podcast. I didn't say
I'm not trying to
154. So no, it wasn't like one of these calculators you had to crank up. It was just like you could get scientific calculators that looked the same way as your little Casio did when the calculators looked more or less the same.
Yes.
And they all had the little buttons, square root and log. And so I started calculating and I would do things like, 1 plus 3 minus 1 multiplied by 8 divided by 7 multiplied by 1.2 and then I'd square root it or do something like to the power of 3 and then divide. And then I would stop and get an answer and and he would tell me that it would take him 2 seconds longer than the calculator, and he would come to the right answer rounded to 2 decimal places.
That's impressive. I can't really believe that.
No, I mean,
unbelievable.
I also didn't believe it, but it happened. So I thought
that's good brain.
Exactly. So he had demonstrated the power of his brain, and I was now suitably impressed.
I'd be impressed.
Yes, he
Someone did
wasn't.
this to me.
He wasn't nice looking, and he seemed very shy. And even if he was nice looking, I wouldn't have noticed, because who's going to look at anyone other than the cross between Theo James and Chris Hemsworth? Like literally. And just on the sideline, that the time that I was looking at him, and I'm surprised that he was worried about me flirting at Greek Corner, if what my sister said is true, because there were women that were literally like tripping over themselves to get his attention. I wasn't the only Greek girl that had noticed that there's this hot, semi-blonde Greek god walking around. Anyway, this little Chinese guy greeted me a few times after that, and I would greet him.
Of your classes?
No. He was studying, very appropriately, he was studying computer science, and I was studying physiotherapy, so totally unrelated. And the other guy was studying law, so none of us had anything in common, except that we liked the maths library. And I generally like the people in the maths library, but that's besides the point. So he then came up to me the one day after, we'd greet each other, and he came up to me the one day and he said, listen, he said, I'm working on this new kind of project that I'm getting quite good at. He said, can you please go to your mom tonight, go home and ask your mom exactly where you were born and what time? So I said, what do you mean? I said, I know where I was born. No, he said, like, find the name of the hospital or the clinic, because he said, I need to know the exact latitude and longitude of it.
Wow.
And I want to know the exact time.
How would you know the latitude and longitude? Would he look it up?
He would look it up.
Like in a book?
Like in a book, believe it or not.
Wow. I can't even imagine a book storing that information.
Listen.
It's like a map.
Yeah, like a map.
Yeah,
and he would kind of find exactly, so...
That's crazy that he's asking for that. Like, isn't that a bit, like, sus? It's a bit, like, suspicious.
It was a bit sus, but you know what? After seeing what his brain could do with maths, and I thought, what's the harm?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
and he seemed nice, so you weren't...
He seemed like a sweet guy. It didn't kind of give me ex-murderer vibes. And even if he did, like, what's an ex-murderer going to do with the date of birth? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or the time.
Fair enough.
And so he wanted the year, the day, the month, obviously, the time, and the latitude and longitude.
Location.
And the location. So I got the information, and he somehow looked it up and found it. And he came to me 2 days later with this printout. Now, in those days, which you wouldn't have in your day and age, they used to have these printers where you'd put these giant sheets of paper in, and all the papers were connected. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't like you'd buy your nice Rototrim, whatever those things are called, those A4. You get them packed in like a piece of paper, and then you get them all in a box. They're like in packs of 100 or whatever those are. So they weren't like that. It was
like what, like both boxes of paper?
This was one continuous thing of paper that had little markings on the side, like little perforations, so you could tear off a page.
Okay.
And also, because these papers would feed into the printer, on the sides they had these little holes that would go into holes of the printer, so they control that the paper doesn't go left and right.
Interesting.
And those near the holes were also perforations, so you could kind of tear it off. And he came to me and brought me this paper.
So was it like typed out? Or
typed out,
so it wasn't
yes.
like just written out?
It wasn't just written. So, as I've told you, I wasn't born 154 years ago. There were computers in those days.
I know that. I'm not trying to insinuate anything.
Okay. So we hadn't met Google yet, but computers existed. And so he brought me this typed piece of paper and handed it to me. And he said, you know what? I've predicted your future.
Whoa.
So I thought, okay, this sounds like fun. And I packed it away because I was concentrating on Chris Hemsworth, and I actually
priorities.
Yeah, and I packed it away, and I thought I'll read it when I get home tonight.
Okay.
I need time to read this. So I get home and really excited. I haul out this piece of paper, and I thought I'm really going to pay a lot of attention to it. So it begins, and it says you are going to marry a Cancerian or a Gemini. Or let me actually reverse that. It says you are going to marry a Gemini or a Cancerian.
What is specific? Like,
well, looking back now, and I've mentioned that I've been married twice. As you know, your dad is a Gemini, and my second husband, your stepdad, is a Cancerian. So, okay, but that's just, I thought...
At the time, though, you didn't know any of these guys that you were marrying, so you just saw the two...
Exactly. At the time, I hadn't met any of these guys, and I thought, okay, I thought, all
You're
right.
like, okay.
So anyways, I thought, okay, that sounds all right. Doesn't
Yeah.
sound like bad. I mean, I didn't have the statistics of whether, you know how they do these days, like Cancer man with Scorpio woman and Scorpio man with Virgo woman. All I knew is that Virgo men are kind of rather difficult. And I was very happy that he didn't tell me I was going to marry a Virgo man. So I was quite happy with that. And
Sorry to all the Virgos out there, by the way.
the Virgo men specifically. So I kind of thought, okay, so far so good. Then he said, you are going to have 2 daughters. And I thought, this is going
Exactly
according
what
to
you
plan.
wanted. Wow.
I thought, wow, okay, this is perfect.
Okay, so you're set on that part. You're like, that's great.
So that sounded great. The next line said, after 7 years, your marriage will fall apart.
Whoa.
And I thought, what?
Because even before you even met the guy.
Yeah, I thought, what? Excuse me. And as I've mentioned to you, because in those days, I couldn't see gray. I could see black or white. I thought, who the heck is this guy that's going to tell me that my marriage is going to fall apart? I thought, no chance.
Like, no, you really
My
would.
marriages, I thought, sorry, dude, I don't know what your marriages do, but my marriages do not fall apart. My marriages are going to be perfectly fine.
How old are you?
From the age of 30, we're going to live happily ever after. I was
18.
18 at the time, and I thought, stuff that. And so I refused to read further on.
That sounds like something I would do.
I took this piece of paper and I ripped it into shreds.
No.
I ripped it
You
into
ripped
shreds.
it?
Into shreds. And then, because I know myself, and I was very concerned that at some point I might fish out the shreds from the dustbin and
Try
put
piece it back together.
I decided that I have to make sure that I do not read this, because who the heck is this person that's going to tell me that I'm getting
Oh,
divorced?
that's like, so you mean we could have had it and read it today to see if it was accurate?
We could have. So what I did is I took
So you mean there's
the bits of paper.
There's nothing.
Well, wait, I'll tell you, because this guy's still alive. He exists, so you never know. There's
You're
still
still
hope.
friends with him, aren't you?
I'm still friends with him. I'll tell you other things about him later on, which why for a short period I kind of moved away from him, but I am still friends with him. I'm still in contact with him. So what I did at the time to make 100% sure that I couldn't read the rest of it,
Did you burn it?
I didn't. I threw it down the toilet in batches and flushed it. I mixed it all up so that if ever one batch didn't go down, I wouldn't
So
be able to piece it to you.
dramatic.
It was quite dramatic.
Like you
But
saw,
it also felt
you
like-
just saw one threat to a marriage where you weren't even in yet, and you decided you're gonna flush it down.
As I said to you, black and white. And I thought, no, I'm really sorry. Everyone else's marriage failed. My marriage doesn't fail. The other thing is, on the sideline, just to kind of put this in perspective for you, is, as I mentioned, I lived in a household that I had my parents in it and my grandparents. And my parents were happily married and totally in love, and everything was perfect. And my grandparents were also in the same house, happily married, everything perfect, totally in love. And my sister started dating her husband, who she happens to still be with till today, and also totally happily married, nice guy. They started dating at 15.
Wow. So really, you saw the threat of the 7 years and thought, "There's no way
And I
I'm
thought,
going to be the only one
and I
in
thought
this
exactly,
household."
there is no way. And I thought, I know how things go. My story, my prediction said it. Guy meets girl. In fact, it's not guy meets girl. Knight in shining armor meets princess. He sweeps her off her feet, literally. And they then do have these 2 beautiful daughters that are amazing and clever and stunning and beautiful, and everything's
The whole
fine.
package.
The whole package. And then
Which
the 2
I
of
can
them,
confirm.
and he continues to worship the ground she walks on. The 2 of them live happily ever after.
That's a dream.
So I've now realized that every now and then you kind of need to make some slight kind of changes. Anyway, just on a side note, after I got divorced, or at the time that I got divorced,
Yeah.
I hadn't even thought about this friend of mine. I was concentrated on a divorce. My marriage was falling apart. My knight in shining armor wasn't even wearing armor. The horse was lame. We were on the floor. The horse was trampling both of us. And there was no happily ever after. There was no after. It was a disaster, literally. And I thought, things weren't going according to plan. But what I do remember telling people was, because I wanted to try and make myself feel better about my marriage falling apart, is I left your dad after 7 years. And I would joke to people because of the movie the movie that's before my time called The 7-Year Itch. And I would joke with people because I said, people would joke and say, I'd say, listen, I think I'm leaving my husband. And people would say, how long have you been together? And I'd say, well, we've been married for 7 years. And they'd say, have you got the 7-year itch? And I'd say, well, I've actually got hives. I said I've got chronic urticaria.
Oh, you're definitely not dramatic.
No. And so I remembered the 7 years because of that. So,
That's crazy that was accurate, though.
Exactly. So years later.
So the Gemini and the Cancerian.
Well,
and
now, just on a complete side note,
my
second and current husband, just by the by, happens to be a Cancerian. And so this guy's predictions...
So the star sign, the daughters, and the years of the first marriage of these were all accurate.
Exactly.
And you didn't refuse to even look at the rest.
I refused to even look at the rest. So
it wouldn't be me. I would have read the whole thing and then ripped it up.
Yeah. I keep thinking, like every now and then, sometimes I think I don't want to know, and every now I think, oh, you fool. You would actually know. I would have actually probably been able to tell you who you're going to marry, and that would have helped both of us.
Yeah.
But anyway, so, okay, there's a lot more to that story, which we can talk about.
I'm very excited for that. I want to hear more. I can't believe we're ending it here.
It's really, really exciting. There's a lot more to say. What I did want to kind of finish off with is there's actually this Garth Brooks song.
Yeah.
It's called Unanswered Prayers. And one of the first lines in the song says, sometimes I thank God for unanswered prayers. And a couple of months ago, someone showed me a picture of my Greek god.
So recently?
Quite recently. So he must be in his 50s now. And they showed me a picture, and he doesn't look like Chris Hemsworth or Theo James anymore. And I kind of look at the way things happen, and I think that they turned out the way they were meant to turn out.
Yeah. So I think that's the major lesson from this week's story. So on that note... Mom, what are you grateful for this week?
Okay, well, once again, I'm really grateful that we got to spend this time together.
Always love to spend this time with you.
I'm really grateful that we get to do this podcast and share these stories.
Same.
And I'm grateful that life has taught me that although black and white are great, put together it's Cruella de Vil, so grey is not a bad colour either.
I mean, put together there's also lots of other things, not just Cruella de Vil.
And maybe there's some good things about 50 Shades of Grey.
Well, you know what I'm grateful for? I'm grateful that your friend was right about having 2 daughters, because I don't think I would be here if it was wrong.
That was the best part ever.
Aw, that's so sweet. I bet you're only thinking that now because I'm nice, not when I was like little and
Oh, we'll get into that. That's a whole story by itself.
And see you guys next week for our 3rd episode of Mondays with Mom. Bye!